What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Celtics Talk Weekly post-game show. I am your host, Rob Ate, and joined with me is my co-host, Franco. We will have Justin and Ian joining us shortly. Guys, how about the Boston Celtics tonight? The Celtics pick up a 126-107 victory on the road in Washington. It was a wire-to-wire win. It was the Celtics from the start. We have so much we're going to be able to dive in and talk about for tonight's Celtics win. However, let's go over the stats real quick. How about 36 points from Jaylen Brown? 27 of those came in the first half. He had 7 3-pointers on the day today, or 7 in the first half, 8 on the day. How about Jason Tatum as well? Just when you thought you had Jaylen Brown stopped there in that third quarter, JT comes out and explodes for a 17-point quarter. JT, he had 31 points. Franco, so much to talk about from start to finish. But I got to give your initial takeaways, right? Because again, we're going to talk about so much because there is so much good, and there's a little bit of bad there towards the end. That second, third unit was giving us a little scare. But initially, your initial thoughts, your initial takeaways.
Our $300 million man right there. He showed up tonight. I told you there's going to be a lot of nights that it's going to be an off night from Holiday, or it's going to be a off night from Porzingis. Tonight was a on night for all 6 of our key players, and they were hitting on all facets. And throughout the first half, pure dominance throughout the entire first half, and they did a great job of spreading the ball around. Derek White had 8 assists with that starting lineup, which is huge. He was feeding the scorers and creating a lot of great opportunities, and it seemed like this team was just having a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was dominance from the get-go. And obviously, with no Gafford, I think you kind of saw Boston exploit the Washington Wizards' lack of interior defensive presence. I mean, there was really nothing. Definitely. And I think that's what started it. It was they came out the gate, and they got a quick 10 points in the paint. They got off to like a 10-3 lead. And then transition, Brown knocks down a 3. And then we kind of went back into the paint. And then, then the 3 started coming. Once that lead got up to 15, Boston was kind of able to play a little bit more freely. They were able to look for their shots. Brown obviously had the hot hand in the first half, so they were able to just let Brown facilitate. And that all started with the ability to attack the paint. And that is something, Franco, that this Boston Celtics team just simply did not have last year. Kristaps Porzingis being a dominant offensive interior presence is such a unique quality that the Celtics team has not had since Kevin Garnett back in that 2007 and 2008 season, where yes, Robert Williams and Al Horford have been lob threats and pick and roll threats, but they have not been able to just dump the ball down into a 7-foot big man with phenomenal touch, with phenomenal post work, phenomenal footwork, and just go and get a bucket. So my biggest takeaway from tonight's game was hands down, no question, Kristaps Porzingis, because I truly believe, yes, Jaylen Brown did his thing. Yes, Jason Tatum did his thing, but it started with the interior presence from Porzingis. I think that was absolutely huge. I mean, obviously, Washington's not really a team, right, that it's like, oh my God, you beat Washington. But I will say, it wasn't just a win, right? It wasn't. It was first of all a wire to wire. Second of all, it was just pure domination. As Ian joins us live, Ian. Great timing, because quite frankly, we haven't even jumped to the next topic. Give me your initial takeaways, initial thoughts, feelings. Where are you at right now after this W?
I mean, what can you even say about that? Let's be honest here. That was a vintage Celtics performance right there. That was a Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown masterclass. That was just incredible to watch. I mean, it's crazy to think that we were all like watching how amazing Jaylen Brown was doing. He dropped 36, and Jason Tatum just happened to have 33 points, just right behind him. It was absolutely insane. Didn't even need Porzingis and Holiday and White to go off or anything. I mean, they damn near beat the Wizards themselves through 3 quarters with just Brown and Tatum. So, I don't know, man. The starting lineup is absolutely incredible.
And I think I'd go as far to say that over the past 10 seasons, we've seen a lot of great Celtics wins. but I think this was the most dominant performance we have actually seen from a Boston Celtics team over the past 10 seasons. It wasn't just
through 3 quarters.
through three quarters, absolutely yes. But it wasn't just they blew them out. It looked like a JV basketball team playing the varsity basketball team, where it was essentially we are going to get what we want whenever the hell we want it. It was not just the Celtics having a flamethrower night from beyond the arc. Quite frankly, they shot 36% from beyond the arc as a team. Obviously, that number teetered.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And that number teetered for sure towards the end. Obviously, Sam Hauser, 2 of 9. Al Horford, 0 of 3. Peyton Pritchard, 0 of 6. Brissett, 0 of 2. Banton, 0 of 1. So, obviously, the bench really brought that number down. And, obviously, the flamethrower night from Jaylen Brown from behind the arc. But it was just pure dominance. It was just, I'm going to get what I want. And I think when you have 5 dynamic scorers like this Celtics team does, Franco and I were talking before the show started, Ian, like it might truly, obviously 3 games in, right? I said it when we were bad in that 2021, 2022 season. Takes 25 games really before you get a proper assessment of a basketball team. But the Celtics playing at 75% this season, because I think that's where they're at right now in their total potential. I think they still have 25% to unlock. This team is still brand new, and they're still figuring out how to play with each other. But even at 75%, Ian, it feels like in order to beat this team, you are straight up going to have a near perfect night.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, the fact that the Celtics have – I mean, let's even just look at the last 3 games, for example. First game, that game belonged to Kristaps Porzingis, and, Jason Tatum was also cooking in that game. But let's be honest, it was mostly Porzingis' night. Second game, it's Derek White, who is our 5th offensive option on the court. He's the leading scorer, and he has 28. Jaylen Brown has 27. And then tonight, against the Wizards, it's Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So it feels like if 2 out of the 5 starters are going to cook in this lineup, if 2 out of the 5 starters are going to be shooting great, it's going to be kind of damn near impossible to stop this team from getting to wherever they wanted. And I mean, obviously the Wizards didn't have a center today, and Kyle Kuzma was their center. So obviously you can't take a whole lot out of that. But still, the fact that the Celtics in that first quarter, that 42-19 first quarter, where it just looked like barbecue chicken. It was just free eats in the paint. I mean, it was Porzingis, it was Tatum, it was Brown. It was everybody just getting to the paint, and they were just scoring at will. And they were doing that a little bit in the Miami game, and they were doing it a little bit in the Knicks game.
Right.
But it feels like if they can attack the paint, they're going to be impossible to stop.
You say first quarter, so that brings me to my point. My player of the game. Tonight's player of the game. I think you know the answer to this question, but however, we got to still give this man his flowers. Mr. 304, worth every penny dollar, Jaylen Brown. Tonight against the Washington Wizards, like I said earlier, 36 points, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. How about 8 3-pointers made? 27 of those 36 points coming in that first half. He only played 3 quarters and he had 36. You figure if you play the whole game, he's nearing 50. A 50 piece tonight in the nation's capital. Jaylen Brown now, since that rough start we've seen against the New York Knicks, guys, he's kind of starting to slowly become exactly who we knew this guy is. It's really no surprise to Celtics fans, but it feels damn good just to be able for this guy to just shush everyone up. Everyone was talking about, is this guy worth the money, Franco? So what are you seeing from Jaylen Brown this year? That's almost new. That's different because it looks like he's coming with a new energy this year.
He's basically the captain of this team, essentially. He's supposed to be looked at as the vocal leader, the leader of the locker room, how to act on and off the court, and who's going to be the hustle guy and who's going to lay the law down and be the dog when they need it. He's stepping into a more Marcus Smart role, which we need him to do. And we know Tatum is a more on-the-court leader and leads more through his actions. But this is going to be a very strong team just from the basis of him being able to act and be able to slash and not being forced to be the playmaker when we have Jrue Holiday and Derek White on the court alongside him. He can be that off-ball playmaker and take those isolation shots. A lot of the scores he had from three-pointer was him looking the defender dead in the eye and just draining it in his face after a crossover, which is great to see, and I love to see that confidence, and that's what we really need to see from him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like the game just opened up like a whole lot more for these two. And I think we saw it in the 2022 season, the playoffs, the year we made the finals, and last season. At times, you could just collapse the paint against these two. And hope and pray they don't beat you from three. Because, yes, they can catch fire like we saw tonight from beyond the arc, but they're more than likely not going to only beat you. Their best games will be when they're knocking down threes, but they're at their best when they're getting to the rim. And I think that's pretty known throughout the NBA. So I think in years past, you've seen teams be able to kind of collapse the paint, force the two guys to find the open man. And if they do find the open man, you're right. Are you really going to hit it? Because you didn't have the best shooters around us. But I think this year, when you got Porzingis, when you got White, when you got Holiday, all 40% three-point shooters around those guys, they can all play out by the perimeter. It's nearly unguardable for those two because you're going to be stuck in isolation. If you want to send two, those guys have developed the court vision, I think, Ian, to find the open guy.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I was laughing. NBC Sports Boston posted Jaylen Brown's stat line, and on the bottom it said he heard you. So
he did. He funny. Heard you.
And I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, people were calling him a waste of money like a week ago. So that's kind of funny. Anyway, I mean, I agree with Franco when it feels like Jaylen Brown has taken a leadership role, honestly. And I mean, I'm not going to say he's the number one option, but in the last couple of games, he's looking like the leader on the court right now. Yeah. I don't think that's any disrespect to Tatum or anything. I think when Jaylen Brown is going and he's on fire, you just kind of have to keep feeding him. That's just kind of the way it works. So the fact that it looks like Jaylen Brown's taking leadership of this team, this is what we wanted to see. Marcus Smart's gone. He's not the voice anymore. You wanted to see Jason and Jaylen step up. And Jaylen Brown, he's the longest tenured Celtic right now, and he's stepping up, man. He's looking good. And I mean, I will say though, people were calling him a waste of money after the first game. I mean, I think that's kind of funny right now.
Right, where you guys at? You know what number sticks out to me the most? You know what stat sticks out to me the most, I think, is the 0 turnovers.
That's
really
huge.
Right? Really showed you that he had control of this game. And honestly, it was kind of a turnover heavy game for us. 18 turnovers is a whole lot of turnovers in a win that was at a game at one point the margin was up to 40. So, that sticks out. I did like what I saw from Brown and Tatum tonight, but what else is new? I mean, those two guys are going to get it done for you. However, we got a little new segment here, guys, for the post game show. It's called Rob's little same game parlay. Obviously, I make this before the game starts. It was supposed to do streaming throughout the whole game. However, stuff happens. So tonight I took Kristaps Porzingis over 1.5 threes. That didn't hit. Derek White over 12.5 points. That didn't hit. Drew Holiday over 4.5 rebounds. That smacked. And Jaylen Brown over 19.5 points. I was onto something with Jaylen Brown tonight. 19.5 DraftKings in Vegas. That's too low for Jaylen Brown, for my boy, Mr. 304. That's too damn low. However, I did miss. But hey, keep it there because I'm gonna keep taking Jaylen Brown. So that's a little Rob same game parlay. I did come up short, but don't worry. They will be hitting at some point this year. They will be hitting. I can promise you that. They will be hitting. But guys, so again, there's so much good to talk about, and I hate to nitpick here, but I mean, isn't that part of the whole thing? Is you gotta nitpick. So, I mean, how can I say this nicely? The fourth quarter was bad. It was like really bad. Like really, really, really bad.
Honestly, you know what? 32-18, fourth quarter. By the way.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. It was god awful.
32-18,
and I almost think Horford had a phenomenal game. Horford, and I love Horford great. Only played 15 minutes. I'm loving this, keeping Al fresh. Al had a good game, but it's like, God, where do I start? Franco said something before the show started, and I'm gonna swing it back right to you, Franco. But kind of feels like Pritchard and Hauser, and less so Pritchard, but it kind of feels like Sam Hauser is playing basketball right now because he's been on this team before. You know what I'm saying? Like, who do you think should be? I think it's time to readdress this bench. Who do you think should be kind of getting the slot in the rotational minutes?
There are 3 guys that are proven starters on other teams from last year who have came in and shown a lot of hustle on the court and that dog mentality that we need from a second unit. Lamar Stevens, O'Shea Brissett, and we haven't seen enough of them to make the comparison, but from what we have seen, if we see more from them, Svi Mykhailiuk will really step in for us.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I was kind of saying that when I was streaming today. I was like, Lamar Stevens was a starter in a lot of the games that the Cavaliers played last year.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of shocked that he's not playing more. Same thing with O'Shea Brissett, who, I mean, say what you want about him, but he brings energy. He brings offensive rebounding, which is, I don't even know if we didn't even talk about the Miami Heat game.
He was the reason we won that game.
He basically swung the game with his offensive rebounding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the bench, I feel like, like you say, it's Rob, the 25 games to determine where we are. It's going to take time, and we've seen, stretches from Hauser before where he literally couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat in the middle of the ocean. And then we have ones where he just hits everything. So I feel like you got to give Hauser some time a little bit because we have seen in the past that he can hit shots. Pritchard, he had a rough night, to say the least. I don't know. I don't really know about
Luke
Pritchard.
Cornett tonight, though.
Yeah, but everybody out-rebounds Luke Cornett. That's the thing. That's the problem. And obviously Luke Cornett, who, I don't know, man. It's not looking good.
I just feel like right now Boston's trying to get scoring off the bench with these guys, but that's not really what you need. And they were talking
need energy, man.
Exactly. They were talking about on the broadcast. Scal was saying that, listen, when you have 5 guys that can score at this level, you're gonna have 2 of them in at all times. And then obviously you throw Al in the mix with his 6, and Al can knock down shots at a high clip, and he's going to give you that veteran presence. He's going to be good, give you good defense. He's going to give you some good rebounding, right? Al is an exception to that bench, but you don't need scorers. And I really think, unfortunately, I love Sam Hauser. I've been on this guy for years now, 3 years now. I've been all over Sam Hauser. But when I look at this team, last year we needed shooting because we needed to generate some offense when it wasn't Brown and Tatum. But this year, or Brogdon, when I look at this team, it's like, okay, well, listen, if it's not Brown, if it's not Tatum, it's Brown. If it's not Brown and Tatum, then it's probably Porzingis and Holiday or White. And I mean, the combinations are endless almost, right? There's a bunch of different combinations on who's got it going. So it's like, okay, so why the hell are we bringing Hauser off the bench for what? That extra 6 points? It's like, hell, I'll take the Brissett energy that he's given us. And I'll tell you what, Ian, I agree with you, man. Stevens played phenomenal playoff minutes for the Cavaliers as a starter at times. Obviously, him and Okoro were kind of flip-flopping, and forwards depth was their worst aspect. But Stevens can space the floor. He's a big forward. He can guard 1 through 4, and he can knock down the occasional shot when the ball gets swung to him. And I feel like that's what you need. It's like Hauser, if he's not knocking down 4 or 5 threes, he's virtually useless out there. And honestly, same goes for Pritchard. However, Pritchard, I'm loving the playmaking role he's been doing when he's not scoring. I still think Pritchard's useful out there. But Brissett, I like the Svi Mykhailiuk because I think Svi is able to create his own shot, and I think that's something Hauser can't do. And then Lamar Stevens, man. I'm really high on Lamar Stevens. I want to see that him and Brissett playing 10 to 15 minutes a game because I think defensively what they bring is so damn good. I really think that opportunity is there right now, and I do think I do think it will get fixed. However, we've got some questions in the comments here. I want to answer some of these questions. First one, thoughts on our big man depth. Franco, I'm gonna let you start. I'm gonna let you start us off because
Luke Cornett, our favorite player in the NBA. Oh, man, he's really just going 32-18 in the fourth quarter really just put a slight damper on the good feeling us Celtics fans had from this game. Not too much to ruin it, but it brings up a question of what's going to happen when those inevitable injuries do pop up. And Luke Cornett is shown completely that he doesn't have what it takes and isn't meeting the requirements this team is asking for him to do. The role that he is trying to play is much more than he can handle, and an upgrade is necessary in the near future. So we'll see what they do to do that, whether that's bringing in Kata from Maine or looking elsewhere, but that's something that will be assessed in the very near future.
Yep, that's the hope. That's the hope. Yeah, I mean, I still think they need an actual third center. They just need a guy who can play and actually look like an actual basketball player out there. Because right now we really don't have that. So
No, I agree.
The Celtics are very good at coddling these players.
Yeah.
Hauser, Pritchard, Cornett. When they have these rough nights, you shouldn't be afraid to sit them down or put in someone and give them less minutes than a new guy just because they've been around for a little bit. This team has made upgrades. We've obviously shown that it's a very cold sport. We gave up two quote-unquote heart players, Grant Williams and Marcus Smart, very high chemistry players and very high morale players. But this is business. This is a business year that nothing can be taken personally. We just need to focus on every single game being as dominant as it was for the first 3 quarters of tonight's game.
Yeah, I think I've said this a lot. This season is too big of a season to have Luke Cornett as your third string. I think we've said it after every post game show, even in the preseason. I think we all said it.
Yeah.
However, I think from what I've seen in the time being, it will be okay. I think we'll especially be okay if we can start running some Lamar Stevens, O'Shea Brissett, because I think they give you a lot of big man style efficiency in production. In the physicality department and in the offensive rebounding department. I think they fill those voids there. We do have the Grant Williams TPE, the trade player exception, that fits $6 million that has to be used before the deadline. Don't be shocked if the Celtics go third string big man towards the deadline with that $6 million, because again, we're below that second apron. So financially speaking, we're really handicapped right now. We can't really we cannot really get involved in the buyout market, and there's a lot of restrictions that come in that second bracket of the apron. But at the same time, if the rotation gets properly set up how I think it should be set up, mind you, I'm not Joe Mazzulla. I'm not an NBA level head coach. At times I think I could be, but I'm not. All jokes aside, though, I think if that rotation gets solid and we can figure out a nice rotation, I think we'll be set. It's not too worrying just yet. I mean, again, tonight, Porzingis only had to play 23 minutes. Horford only had to play 15. Two guys were like, oh my God, are we worried about injuries? Are we worried about injuries? And, it's I think we'll be okay. With that being said, let's take a look at the next 3 games. They're a little week ahead here. The Celtics, they're looking at a potential little 6-0 start here, guys. I don't know. Obviously, we take on the Indiana Pacers at home on Wednesday, November 1st, the first of the month. Wake up. Because the Celtics will be playing basketball that day. They will. You don't like that? You don't like that? So that will be at 7:30 at the TD Garden, and then they play the Brooklyn Nets on November 4th, which is the first game, I believe, of the in-season tournament. Boston at Brooklyn. Obviously, Boston's division is pretty easy. It's us, Brooklyn, Chicago, Orlando, and one other team. Who's the one team I'm missing? Toronto's that 5th team, so that will be something interesting and new. And then obviously we head back out west for a matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. All 3 of those games, guys, very, very possible that we can come out with a win. However, I will say that Pacers matchup, I think it's going to be a good one. Those boys in Indiana, they know how to they spread the floor, they shoot well. However, I do want to ask, I do want to talk about this. I feel like I kind of have to. That new court, what do you think about the court?
It's nice. I mean, I don't really know how much I care about it, but it's cool. It kind of looks like something that you can make on 2K, but it's cool.
I like it, right? It's something new.
I feel like it would have worked better if we had last year's jerseys. I feel like they would have worked better, but they're cool. I think it's cool.
You all kind of went off the same outline, so I mean, it's going to probably change up every year, which is going to be interesting. I think that's something they're probably going to be bringing in, but
do you know what upsets me? What upsets me is that they can put the in-season tournament trophy on the court, but when the NBA Finals roll around and the fans just want to see that 2008, 2009 vintage, big 2006 big Finals logo on the court, they can't do it for us. I think that's everyone wants.
That's what I said.
Everyone wants that.
I don't get why we can't do that, but
right.
Hey, whatever.
Well, I like the idea. I think as Celtics fans, it's pretty cool because I think like every single like season, I think for our entire lives, it's been like the same basic concept jerseys and the same basic court. It'll be kind of cool, I think, to see the TD Garden with some new parquet down. However, personally speaking, I'm a guy that likes the traditional look on the court, but can't complain. It's something new. It's something cool. But again, guys, kind of a little shorter show. It was a big blowout, big time loss. But, in these big time losses, big time win, not loss. In these big time wins, it's only so much you can talk about. It's like, yeah, Jaylen Brown was great. Yeah, Jason Tatum was great. Although I do want to talk about that Pacers matchup. What do you think we got to do? Indiana, Halliburton, they're notorious for playing us well. Old friend Nesmith, old friend Tice. Those boys in Indiana have been playing some good basketball. What do we got to do against them?
These are all 3 of these teams that are ones that can pull one from under us. They're all pretty well rounded. The new Brooklyn Nets are a very well rounded team in my opinion, from 1 to 10, and the Pacers have only gotten better over the years as their players get more into their primes and get older and gel together. And also Minnesota, you never know with them what their team could become. But I feel very confident with this team going against any team this season. And I think 60, as you said before the show, 65 wins.
65. I think that's what we're looking at right now.
That's a golden number.
And I'm going to tell you what, it's taken everything in my soul to not see 82 because right now we're on pace for 82 straight wins. But I'm going to say I really think we can win 65 games, though. I really do. I think this team is equipped and absolutely has the intangibles and the talent and everything needed. If everyone stays healthy, I think this Boston Celtics team can absolutely win 65 games. Again, night to night, it's almost an unbeatable matchup. I think you're going to be seeing a struggle on second nights of back-to-backs once Horford's not playing. And I think once you start managing Kristaps a little bit more because you don't want to, play around with him. But night to night, matchup based, it's going to be really hard to take down the Celtics team. So I'm saying right around 65 wins, I think. I'm confident in that.
I saw a comment in here that says, sign Kai Jones. I think that's a very, very interesting take. If he's not actually like doped up, like he's coming off as, and like I don't know. Business is business.
I don't want to be too political. Political, but how does Kai Jones still like not in the league, but Miles Bridges is still in the league?
It's a good question.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Great question.
We don't have to get
I'll tell you what, it's a great question.
It's just an interesting question to ask.
All right, I see another question. I'm sorry, I want to get to it. Why hasn't Jordan Walsh played? This is the second time I've seen it, so I do want to address it. Again, this is the biggest Celtics season since the 2007-8 year. What the Celtics gave up to acquire this basketball team was simply too much. You got rid of the heart and soul. You got rid of guys that fans in the organization and these players and Tatum and Brown held deep connections with. Walsh is a rookie, a second round rookie. With that being said, I think the future can hold a lot of talent for Jordan Walsh and a lot of promise. But this season, I think you're going to be seeing more Jordan Walsh in Maine potentially as the season progresses than you will in the Boston Celtics uniform. Because quite frankly, it's just like, where are you going to play him? It's just you can't wait on a rookie to progress some time. I think in a year like this, especially being a mid-second round pick rookie.
Yeah, he's a perfect project player. Like, he is still 19 years old, 20 years old, I believe. Yeah. So he's still got plenty of time. He's on 4 years to stick around this team. Same thing with J.D. Davison, who didn't really show us too much during the preseason, but I still have high hopes on him because of his potential. But they definitely will take their opportunities to prepare in the G League, and if those mid-season, later in the year games come up where injuries do come up, we'll definitely see them getting called up for 10 league contracts, and so, if so, and then,
for sure. Well, listen, guys. Oh, you got something to say? I was about to close it out. Take it away.
Well, if we're doing final thoughts here, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have 25 games now that both of them have scored 30 points in the same game.
Right.
That is behind Shaq and Kobe, who had 33, and Durant and Westbrook that had 34.
They're 24-1 in those games, right? Their first loss was last year.
Yeah, they're 24-1 in those games, but that's 25 games where Tatum and Brown have both scored 30.
But they can't play together, right?
No, they can't.
Right? They're not dynamic, though, right? They don't play well off each other, though, right?
You have to trade one of them.
Absolutely ridiculous, man. But hey, I'm so happy right now. I think every Celtics fan is so happy right now. Guys, thank you so much for joining in, watching, listening. Probably watching, not listening, though. I'm used to the podcast. However, the Boston Celtics pick up a 126-107 win on the road against the Washington Wizards here. They advance to 3-0. Their next game is Wednesday, November 1st. That will be at the TD Garden at 7:30 against the Indiana Pacers. You can catch that game on NBC Sports Boston. Of course, after the final buzzer sounds, come right back here to the YouTube channel. We'll be going live, discussing our thoughts, our opinions, our takeaways from the games, that game, and the upcoming games. Tonight, Jaylen Brown stole the show again. How about JB? 36 points, 6 rebounds for the All-NBA Mr. I'm going to start calling him Mr. 304 because I think it sticks. 3 steals, 8 3-pointers made. He was, again, tonight's player of the game. Guys, thank you so much for joining in and watching. I'm Rob. Next to me is Franco. Below me is my boy Ian. And, guys,